Hello, I'm Zippy Duvall, President of American Farm Bureau, a farmer here in Georgia that raises beef, cattle, and chickens. But today we got a great guest with us from the other side of the country from me, and looking forward to having a conversation. I know all of you are in summertime now and you're enjoying cooking out, and we all like eating fruits and vegetables, especially during the time that they're being grown and harvested. But today we're going to talk about avocados. And I have with me today a producer of avocados. That's Al Stehly from Stehly Farms Organics in San Diego, California. Welcome to the show, Al, and tell us a little bit about your farm there.
Well, thank you. And I have a small avocado farm in San Diego, North San Diego County, that my wife and I own. And I also have a management business where we manage avocado and citrus and wine grapes for other farmers.
Well, that's interesting. How long has your farm been in existence or in your family?
Since the early 60s, my father purchased the property here in San Diego County, 1960, and then I purchased it from him back in late 70s, early 80s. I can't remember exactly.
So most is it avocado or avocado? How do you say
Avocado, yeah. Either way,
it either
potato,
way?
potato. Yeah.
So, are most farms large or small that produces avocados? And where would you think you sit in that setting?
Uh, it's the average avocado farm is around 10 acres, and I'm right in that niche. Mine is 60 acres, but only seven of it is planted right now. I'm in the process of replanting with newer trees, so I got a ways to go to fill out the property.
Is it a fruit or a vegetable?
It's a fruit.
It's
It's
a
a
fruit.
fruit.
Okay.
Yeah.
It has grown in popularity, I guess, over the last 5 or 6 years. And, as a Georgia boy, I probably never heard of avocado until I got to be an adult. And now they're everywhere. And my grandchildren actually suck them through some kind of cloth like a pacifier
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I had never seen before until I had a grandchild. So tell me a little bit about that fruit and tell me a little bit about the popularity. Can you tell us why it has become so popular?
We take some credit for that. Our industry, long time ago, we voted in a marketing order and we self-assess ourselves, the industry, for every pound we produce, and we do a lot of advertising. We do some research. Like any product, without advertising and getting information out there, people aren't going to know your product and aren't going to buy it. So I think we've been successful over the last 30, 40 years.
So, Al, is that marketing order, is it considered a checkoff?
Yes, yeah, it is because it's comes right off the bottom line at the packing house.
So, we do something similar with beef, and I don't have to do it with chickens, but every cow I sell, I have to pay something into the checkoff or a marketing order. And there's a lot of critics around the country about checkoffs and marketing orders, but this fruit actually is a great example of what that those monies can produce for a producer.
When my dad and I first started in the business of raising avocados, the grower was getting 10 cents a pound. Um, right now, the price is $1.40 a pound to the grower. Um, so, of course, we would like to get a little bit more. We're competing with imports and things like that, but um, on the bright side, the the bad thing about imports is it's competing with, California product. The good thing is it makes the avocado a year-round commodity, kind of like lettuce. It's always in the store from somewhere in the world. So people don't forget about us in the off season.
So there's a lot of avocado producers in California that also produce in Mexico. Is that correct?
Yeah, there are a few. There are a few. They're more the big companies, like some of the packing houses have investments in Mexico. I don't have any desire to do that.
So does that fruit? I know it's a good thing that's on the shelf all the time, but does it also put downward pressure on your price?
It does. It does. And so that's the two-edged sword of an import. But fortunately, we can carve out our season, and the imports are come off or slow down in March and April, and so we have March, April through end of July, August, as pretty much solely California fruit.
I hear that from other producers of like squash and bell peppers and strawberries. The pressure from outside the country on imports, the pressure is downward pressure on their price, and sometimes can be even less than cost of production because the rules and regulations in Mexico aren't as I don't want to say difficult, but we have more regulatory burdens on us in America than they do in other countries.
Yes, and for my product, avocados, it's a native of Mexico, for example, and grows quite well there without irrigation, and so we have the expense of water and the labor that goes into that as well. So we have to be able to cover that. And yeah, you bring up a good point. A lot of growers are very frustrated having to compete with a foreign product that isn't under the same labor regulations that we are.
Yeah, we're one of the few industries in our country where the government, in some cases, tells us what we have to pay our workers, other than a minimum wage, of course, that we see all across the country.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and in my area, President Duvall, the labor is so short that I don't know very many, if any, farmers that are paying minimum wage. We're starting well above minimum wage just to compete and get reliable workers.
Right. Yeah. And the labor is the biggest issue I've talked to farmers all across America. You wouldn't think it'd be a big issue in corn and soybean country, but it is. And so
Yeah,
we look at it as one of the biggest problems we have in agriculture is labor.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'd love to talk about the fruit a little bit because you might be surprised. Most people that listen to my podcast aren't farmers. Let me learn and let my listeners learn a little bit about the life of the avocado. When do you plant it? When do you harvest it? How much is it a big consumer of water or fertilizer? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so yeah, we plant them. We try to plant in the spring, but pretty much we're in a warmer climate, frost-free generally, so we can plant anytime the trees or the labor is ready. I mean, and we have the trees themselves are in short supply. We have to order over a year in advance. They're rather expensive. Each tree I think, is up to $38 now. And then about 3 years later, we get our first fruit, not very many per tree. They're at maturity in about 5 years. They do take a lot of water and a fair amount of fertilizer, 100 pounds of nitrogen per year per acre. almost, very similar to a lot of other crops. Um, I primarily farm organic for the avocados, so we're using natural fertilizers, which are a lot more expensive than conventional fertilizer. But we can start harvesting avocados in November when they have enough oil in them. We can test that, and then we can harvest clear through September probably. So it's a long season. Avocados don't ripen or start to ripen till we pick them. So we can pick our markets. And normally, I'll pick 3 or 4 times in each grove. We'll go through and pick the large ones, then go to another one, pick the large ones over there, and then come back, and hopefully the smaller ones have grown. The price point for fruit that's 7.5 ounce and larger is what we're trying to go for. There's a big difference between 7.5 ounce fruit and 7 ounce fruit.
How long does an avocado tree produce, and how old is it before it actually produces its first fruit?
It'll get its first fruit on the third year. They're mature at 5 years, and the tree will live indefinitely unless it gets a disease or a root. Primarily, the thing that gets us in avocados is a root-borne disease, root rot, Phytophthora. But we've got some trees that are 40 years old. Most of my trees are under 15 because we're replacing the older trees with newer varieties that are resistant to that root rot, and can do well in where that we have contaminated soil.
So you made a statement a while ago. You said that it did not start ripening until you picked it, and you pick it
Yeah.
at a certain oil level within it.
Yes. Hmm.
Well, that's interesting because like a tomato, when it starts getting ripe, it's going to ripen. So it's
Right.
different than that.
Exactly. My vegetable grower friends, just they're jealous of us being able to, you know they're growing lettuce and they're counting days, and we're growing avocados and we're deciding which month we want to pick in. You know.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Now,
Yeah.
avocado tree bloom like any other fruit would.
Yeah, they bloom in the spring, and it's an interesting flower. It opens in the morning as a male, and then it closes, and then reopens in the afternoon as a female flower. They have to be pollinated by a bee or wind, and so we bring in bees to help with the pollination. We also purchase avocado pollen and spread it out with a blower. And this year we're implementing a drone to spread the pollen as well.
Wow, that's the technology that we have at our fingertips today are just pretty amazing. But we all know how important those bees are, and I know some people think that farmers don't care about bees. No, we probably care about them more than anybody else does because we have to have bees to produce.
It of course. I mean, without bees, we would have nothing.
Al, would you tell us a little bit about how you market your avocados? Do you do it through a broker or direct? Or
We do it through a packing house, several packing houses. They pick the fruit. We harvest the fruit. They pick it up, take it, clean it, sort it, pack it, and sell it that way. So we're not involved in the marketing at all. We are in constant contact with them to discuss what sizes they need, because we can try to tailor our picks that way. and whether they need conventional fruit or organic fruit.
So I know that it doesn't start ripening until you pick it, but is there? So most of it is about the size
Yes.
and what the market's
Yeah.
calling for.
Right.
Uh, so if one of our wives or mothers or ourselves are in the grocery store trying to pick out the right avocado, what would you recommend? What's the test that that person should use?
Well, I would hope they wouldn't squeeze them. um, but the darker the fruit, uh, the closer it is to being ripe. We have a program that we call Ripe for Tonight, and you'll sometimes see a sticker on them that'll say ripe. I'm probably the wrong person to ask about how to ripen an avocado because I'm always asked whenever I go to a Super Bowl party to bring avocados for guacamole. And many times I've had to go to the store on the way to the Super Bowl party to purchase avocados that are ripe because the ones that I harvested are not ripe on the day that I need them. So I caution people to when I give them fruit, I'm just like, please don't plan your party around my avocados. Have a party when they're ripe. It's hard. That's the downside of avocados is trying to plan the exact day that they're ripe. But once they are ripe, in the fruit bowl on the counter, you can put them in the refrigerator and keep them for quite a while before you use them.
So in the refrigerator, in something, or
N-
just by
Just
itself, just set it on the
just
shelf.
put it on the shelf. Yeah.
Well, I know people. I love guacamole, and especially when I can sit there and watch somebody make it. It's just interesting. But what is your favorite way of eating avocados?
I like to have sliced up on toast. Done that since I was a little kid, way before it was a fad. And then I love guacamole and chips as well with a beer on the side. Yeah.
Well, I got to admit now, it has only been a few years since I've heard of having a guacamole on toast. So that's a new thing to this old Georgia boy.
Yeah.
I talk to all my people that participate in my podcast about sustainability because there's so many people that are interested in knowing what's going on around sustainability. What a lot of people don't understand is sustainability is just what we do every day. We've been doing it for decades, and we just look for more and better ways to do that each and every day as a farmer. So let's talk about sustainability a little bit on your farm, and I know water is a big issue in California. How do you manage sustainability and water usage?
Let's start with water usage. I mean, it is our single biggest expense in Southern California. It's even more than labor. Um, we're probably some of the most expensive water in the world. So we spend a fair amount of time managing that. Um, for about I've always used moisture sensors in the ground, tensiometers that tell us what the moisture is at 6 inches, 12 inches, and 24 inches. Forever, I've used those. But lately, in the last 5 years, we've converted to a sensor right on the tree trunk, a dendrometer. It's called a dendrometer, and it senses the diurnal, the daily swelling and contraction of the trunk of the tree. And it's measuring in microns, the thickness of a human hair. And when the tree is happy and well irrigated, it swells up a little bit. And when it needs water, the trunk starts to contract. So we can tailor our irrigations for the exact right time and the amount of irrigation when it's needed. So we're not overusing or underusing the water. And that information is relayed through an app to every irrigator. All my employees have it on their smartphone, and they can tell if we need irrigation, which block needs irrigation, or if we can wait.
Well, Al, that's pretty amazing. Now, that's the first of that technology that I've heard of. I've heard of a lot of different technologies that we use, whether it be water or spraying. But general public a lot of times thinks that we overuse chemicals, we overuse water, we overuse everything. Your example is, that's the most expensive thing that you buy to produce that avocado. And why would you ever even think about overusing?
Yeah, yeah. We're very motivated to conserve financially, yes. And so we do. And the same thing with chemicals and pesticides. They're very, very expensive. We don't want to use more than we have to. And we surely don't want to go waste it.
I know you talked a little bit about labor as one of your biggest issues there. Tell me a little bit. Do you have family members there? I understand you have a multi generations working on your farm, and they've created a community of its own. Can you tell us a little bit about
Yeah,
that?
yeah. No, it's uh, some of my employees have been with me for 30, 35 years. I know you hear that from a lot of your farmers. Same for me. Excuse me, just a minute. Um, so yeah, I've employees have been with me a long time. Um, One particular family, the father is my tractor driver. His sons are my field managers and mechanics, and their nephews and sons work for me during the summer on when they're on vacation from high school. So during the summer, I sometimes have three generations working for me at the same time.
And I hear a lot about that across the country, where we have multi generational farm workers on our farms, and they are and they become more like your family than they do workers.
Right, right. Yep, yep. We couldn't do what we do without them, and so we try to do right by them.
I also know that you've been a Farm Bureau member there in California for a long time,
Yeah.
and have taken on leadership roles. You want to tell us a little bit how you got introduced to Farm Bureau?
Well, my first introduction to Farm Bureau was when I got my driver's license when I was 16, and I needed insurance, and so the best place to get it was through the Farm Bureau. And then when I was uh, at one point, a couple county Farm Bureau members came over and took me for a drive, and then said they wanted to talk to me about something, and it got me involved in the county farm bureau, and then it went on from there. When I was president of the county farm bureau, and now I participate at the California state level on the board and committees there.
Well, so your road to participation is just about like just all of
Yeah,
us. We get 16 and we need that driver's
yeah,
license, and then we get introduced into leadership roles. So I understand you are part of a director of the Rural Health and Safety Committee. Could you tell me a little bit about what y'all's role is there?
yeah. President Johansson asked me to chair that committee, and he tasked me with expanding county participation. We only had about 5 members on that committee, and now we've got it up to about 20. And the definition, rural health and safety. We're talking about health of our farmers and our workers, and the safety of our farmers and our workers. Um, Originally, I thought I would lead that committee and talk more about safety and worker safety, uh, inter, what do you call it, internet safe, security. But we've pivoted, as most people have, to focus on the rural hospital situation. In California, it's becoming dire. The rural hospitals are not able to afford the staff and are not getting the proper reimbursement. So we are looking into what Farm Bureau can do to help lobby for change to keep some of these rural hospitals open. So that's what the committee's working on right now.
Well, we thank you for that work you're putting into that area. Rural health is a big issue to all our members across the country, and with rural health, especially in rural America, is depending more and more on the internet to be able to provide them with services, and that's why broadband is so important to us as an industry and as an organization.
Yep.
Because most of our technologies won't work without it.
Mhm.
Most of our communities had struggling with rural health, so broadband is crucial to us in the safety and health of our farmers and ranchers. We also I've done a lot of work with mental health, because as things can increasingly burden our farmers out there, a lot of spend a lot of time alone, and mental health becomes a real issue out in rural America, and so we spend a lot of time there, and I'm sure y'all's organization has too. I got to say some good things about Jamie Johansson. He's served as y'all's president, done a great job there, and always look forward to my conversations with him. California is the biggest agricultural state in our country, and a lot of things going on there, and y'all have more challenges than a lot of other states do. So our prayers and thoughts go out to y'all as y'all try to manage the political front in California that sometimes makes y'all's job pretty difficult. We've talked a lot about the avocado itself, how you marketed it, your workforce, and your leadership in Farm Bureau. Is there anything else about your farm and your fruit, or your story that you'd like to share?
My story is, President Duvall. I went to school to learn how to be an accountant, so I wouldn't have to be a farmer, and I could, make lots of money being an accountant. And I pivoted after school and went back into farming, and I have no regrets. I really enjoy what I do, and I love it. I know I'm as frustrated as other farmers sometimes, that I spend majority of my time here in the office, doing working on paperwork and compliance issues. But I have to keep remembering the good side of it. And I just want to remind my fellow farmers and fellow Americans, just try to go into, things with less anger. I just think there's a lot of anger in the country right now, and we don't need to be angry. We can be frustrated without being angry. And that, I guess that would be my message.
I was reminded not long ago of the golden rule that my mom and daddy hammered into our heads when we were young, and that is treat others like you'd want them to treat you. And I think that golden rule could go a long ways to making our lives and our country a lot better shape. So I ditto what you just said, and look forward to seeing more of your participation and leadership, and look forward to seeing you at the next Farm Bureau meeting. We've had a great discussion here with Al Stehly. He runs Stehly Farms, organic farm in San Diego, grows avocados, one of the fruits that everybody has adapted to loving, having being part of their diet. We appreciate the work you do there and the product you produce, and I definitely appreciate the service that you've given to Farm Bureau, whether it be on the state, which is the county, which is the most important part of our organization. 2,800 county farm bureaus. They're the ones that strength and power this organization. It's not Zippy Duvall. It's all of us working together like a Farm Bureau family. So thank you for what you do. I thank everybody for listening today. I hope you learned something about a wonderful fruit that we enjoy each and every day. And if you haven't been enjoying it, go try it. And I think you will enjoy that fruit. This is Zippy Duvall with the Farmside Chat. Look forward to seeing you again. And we both say to you, God bless you. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Farmside Chat. Please be sure to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. And while you're at it, take a minute to rate and review the podcast. This helps us continue to bring you farm fresh content that everyone can enjoy. Until next time, thank you and God bless you.